today, little something called Internal Revenue Code Section 1014. It's a stepped up basis in assets, and I see this missed more than anything. So today we're going to get into exactly what that is. For those who don't know me, my name is Chris, CPA of 30 years, financial advisor, real estate investor. So, Internal Revenue Code Section 1014. It basically says that when a decedent passes away and leaves assets to their heirs, those assets receive a stepped-up basis. We know that. Most people understand that. Most business owners, most farmers and ranchers, you get it. But generally you miss something. You miss the equipment, the livestock maybe, the business assets maybe. It's a little bit different if you're in a corporation. Don't get this confused. I'm talking about assets that you inherit outside of some entity. Again, always seek advice from your professional. But in general, I'll give you an example. I got a phone call. Guy's father had passed away several months ago, and they had, $400,000, $500,000 worth of livestock, breeding animals. This doesn't apply to inventory. It applies to breeding animals, equipment, and all the typical stuff a farmer and rancher would have. Now, the mother had passed away years earlier. She left all of those assets to the husband. Now, we're in Texas. That's a community property state. When you're in a community property state, both halves get a stepped-up basis. Seek legal advice. Seek accounting advice. The bottom line is, the mother passed, both of their assets get a stepped-up basis and get to be re-depreciated. We're talking about breeding animals that have been raised, breeding equipment that had long been depreciated. But you get to re-depreciate those things. People miss that. Ranchers miss that. And I see it frequently. When I get a new client, that's the first thing I do. I start digging into all the open years. I want to know what they missed. How this works is when a person passes, their items of assets, their assets go through estate, through probate. They get a stepped-up basis to fair market value. What that means, if you're the child of someone who passed away and you inherit those assets, you think, well, they didn't cost me anything. You forget to tell anyone. You don't tell your CPA. Maybe you do. Hopefully you do. But those assets now can be re-depreciated. Even though they've been depreciated by the father, the mother, whoever, they can be re-depreciated. What that means is all the livestock at fair market value. If they're breeding animals, you re-depreciate. You start depreciating. The equipment, whatever the fair market value is, it's not brand new. You don't start from there, but you start from fair market value. Any sort of equipment, any sort of assets that go with the business, if it's a Schedule C and not a corporation or something that holds a different basis, but if it's a individual, all of those assets get re-depreciated. And that means a deduction for you. And that could amount to thousands. In this case, when he told me that, he knew because he generally was aware that his mother had passed and that the assets got stepped up. The father re-depreciated. Now the father has passed. Absolutely, they get a step up to fair market value and they're put on the depreciation schedule. And it's a significant amount of money. You want to do your documentation. We had appraisals done on all of it. Everything. Equipment, livestock, everything. Livestock's fairly easy to do because you can see the current market prices, from day to day. But we had an equipment specialist come in and give us an appraisal on the equipment. I mean, the couple of $1,000s that we spent was well worth it. in the long run, when the individual now has $50,000, $60,000 deduction, depreciation that cost him zero, nothing. So that is an extremely valuable option when you inherit property. And again, not personalized advice, get your own advice, but it applies to almost anything. It does not apply to what we call IRD income, or income in respect of a decedent. That's going to be inventory. If you have calves that are out there and your intention is, those calves are a crop. If you have a crop, things of that nature, that is what we call IRD income. Does not apply to that. It applies to machinery, equipment, land, breeding animals, those sorts of things. But you move those assets to fair market value, put them on your depreciation schedule, and rock on. Save all kinds of money. You're welcome, right? How much does that save? I could go into some examples. I don't want to. I'm getting ready to go to the Texas Tech Big 12 Conference Championship game with Brigham Young, and I don't want to do anything heavy. But just know there are court cases out there that support this. It's Internal Revenue Code Section 1014 if you want to do a little AI chat GPT, and go ahead. But you see, you didn't know. Be careful about all of this AI stuff. You probably didn't know, and you never thought to ask AI, hey, can I re-depreciate these assets that I inherited? Each situation is different. So, this is general advice and generally what happens, but check it out. It is, there are some court cases that support it. No real direct cases with specific farm equipment, but there are enough. If you look up any of the major authoritative sources for farm and ranch, any of your Texas A&M for one, Texas Farm Credit, that's just, organizations that I'm familiar with. They all are in line with this. You may have read this before. The main thing is, do not forget to step up the basis, write off those assets again, and give yourself huge depreciation deduction without having to spend $1. So, with that said, join our community. You're not going to get fluff. You're not going to get this sensationalized stuff that you see all over. You're going to get facts. You're going to get my opinion. And you're not going to get the fluff. You're going to get both sides of the story. I'm not here to sensationalize anything. I'm here to build a community. Hopefully you'll be a part of that. Subscribe and then follow me, because I'm starting out. It helps. If you appreciate the video, please do that for me. Otherwise, have a great weekend.